A very good evening and thank you for joining me for RTV News. My name is William Evans. Of course, I'm bringing you the latest from the world of news, but beginning with the headlines. Senate President Dr. Karimba Francois has urged the residents of Rwanda district to strengthen national unity and reject genocidal ideology. And author and journalist Maria Maragadis says that Belgium abandoned Rwanda during the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, even though it could have intervened to save the Tutsi who were being killed. On the international scene, the death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar has raised to 1,644, with 3,408 others reported injured. Of course, many thanks for joining us. Let's kick off our bulletin with the Senate President Dr. Karimba Francois Xavier has urged the residents of Rwanda district to strengthen national unity and reject genocidal ideology. He made these remarks while participating in a community service event, Umuganda, with the residents of Rwanda on Saturday. Accompanied by some members of parliament, Senate President Dr. Karimba Francois Xavier joined the residents of Murire sector in Rwanda district for the community service event. The activities focused on improving the road leading to Murire Genocide Memorial and cleaning the memorial site in preparation for the 31st commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. During the event, Dr. Karimba urged the people of Rwanda to actively fight against genocide ideology. The residents of Murire expressed their joy in working alongside the Senate during the community service event. However, they raised concerns about the need for a tarmac road leading to the Murire Memorial, the resumption of construction works at the memorial site, access to reliable electricity, and establishment of a vocational training school. In response, the Senate President assured them that he would advocate for these issues to be addressed by relevant authorities. And now moving on, an author and journalist, Maria Margadis, says that Belgium abandoned Rwanda during the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, even though it could have intervened to save the Tutsi that were being killed. She says she highlighted this on Saturday when she officially launched her book about what she witnessed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi when she was in Rwanda as a journalist. Enora Gladys.
During this event that was attended by the First Lady of Rwanda, Jeannette Kagame, the writer presented some of the contents of her book, including how the international community abandoned the Tutsi who were being killed during that period.
Je suis journaliste et les journalistes traitent du réel.
I'm a journalist and journalists must tell the truth. In this book, I speak a lot about what I witnessed, including the death of 6 children in Rwanda in 1993. Those deaths were not invented. This actually happened in November 1993. And then the UN peacekeepers had just arrived in Rwanda. We hoped they would be able to intervene, but we know they did nothing.
Place de la paix, et on sait que hélas.
The writer also continued to explain that what is happening in the eastern part of the DRC today is similar to what took place in Rwanda in 1994. In northern Kivu, the Banyamulenge and Hema people of Ituri are being killed, and these actions are absolutely intolerable. They remind me of the tactics used when the genocide against the Tutsi was being planned in Rwanda. It is important that these actions stop. There are many similarities to what happened in Rwanda, so it's clear that while the DRC is not Rwanda, there are many similarities. The Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Dr. Jean Damascene Bizimana, highly appreciated the writer for her contribution, which she presented more than 30 years after the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994 took place in Rwanda.
What I should say first is that this book was written by a French journalist who has followed what happened in Rwanda since 1993, before the genocide, and was there during the genocide. What is significant is that this book recounts what she saw and how the genocide was carried out. She witnessed it as a journalist and never changed her stance. There are others who have changed, having developed revisionist and denialist views about the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, but she has maintained the truth. She particularly highlights how the genocide was planned, showing that in 1993, children were killed and the UN peacekeepers were present, yet did nothing.
Maria Malagardis also gave an example of those who continue to deny the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, including Anthony Blinken, who refused to call it the genocide against the Tutsis during the 30th commemoration and called it the Rwandan genocide. She said that this is a form of denial. She also mentioned that there is a growing tendency to deny the genocide within the Anglo-Saxon countries. Enra Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora Gladys. Now moving on, genocide survivors from Njera sector in Nyaruguru district, whose loved ones were buried in mass graves in Nyanza and Nyamirama, have expressed that the dignified burial of their relatives gives them strength and a sense of recognition despite the loss. During the exhumation and transfer of more than 250 bodies from these graves in Njera, the Minister of Local Government joined the community in some event, and families of the victims stated that relocating the remains for dignified burial at the Nyumba Genocide Memorial is a significant step in honoring their loved ones. This initiative aligns with the program launched by Ibuka called Inhango Yubudaheranwa, a foundation of resilience which supports vulnerable genocide survivors by providing them with cows, building homes for those in need, and others. Survivors mentioned that such efforts reassure them that they are not alone. Dr. Gakwenzile Philbert, president of Ibuka, explained that the Inhango Yubudaheranwa program aims to help genocide survivors overcome trauma and build resilience. Minister of Local Government, Dr. Patrice Mugenzi, emphasized the importance of the unity and solidarity among Rwandans as they approach the 31st commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi. The survivors in the community program, launched by Ibuka in 2024, has so far provided psychological support to 2,016 survivors who continue to receive care as part of this year's commemoration activities in Nyaruguru district. 5 vulnerable genocide survivors from families received cows. 1 family had their house rebuilt. 333 survivors were granted health insurance. 140 survivors received psychological support. Additionally, plans for the 31st commemoration include donating 500 cows to vulnerable genocide survivors, providing health insurance to 10,000 survivors, offering financial support to 100 young genocide survivors to help them start business. And now moving on, in Gicumbi district, Senator Nsengiyumva France joined residents in the community cleanup efforts at the Mutete Genocide Memorial Site, pledging advocacy for improvements needed at the Mutuel Genocide Memorial. We do have a report. A big number of residents and local authorities participated in the cleanup campaign at the Mutete Genocide Memorial located in the Mutete sector of Musenyi village. This memorial has made a year ever since its renovation. However, apart from a few photographs of some of the victims buried here, it currently lacks many significant markers illustrating the history of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. In addition to those markers, the road to the site is also in poor condition. Senator Fulgence stated that this is a matter that requires advocacy. This memorial should have materials highlighting the history of the genocide against the Tutsi that happened here. There are some photos now, but also historical documents about the genocide against the Tutsi should be put in place, especially on the walls for people to read them. We all know that the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement is in charge of this, but we all work together to advocate for this and also for the road to this place to be worked on to ease access. Now moving on, a Rwanda Defense Force Infantry Brigade has successfully completed a 4-month advanced infantry training course at the Combat Training Center in Nasho Kirehe district. The ceremony was presided over by the RDF Chief of Defense Staff, CDS General M.K. Mubaraka. In his address, the CDS congratulated the graduates on completing the course. He emphasized the importance of such training, which prepares them to defend the nation's territorial integrity and respond to any emerging threats. He also encouraged them to apply the knowledge and skills gained through the training in the execution of their assigned duties. Furthermore, he urged them to maintain discipline as a central factor in achieving good performance in all fields. The training encompassed a variety of subjects, including marksmanship, tactics, command and control martial arts, physical fitness, and heliborne operations. Now, residents of Nyundo and Kanama sector in Rubavu district have expressed their joy after the Business Development Fund (BDF) cancelled loans worth 50 million Rwandan francs that they had been unable to repay due to losses caused by floods from the Sebeya River in May 2023. In 2022, 17 families from these sectors received loans exceeding 50 million Rwandan francs through their sector's SACCO, with the funds meant to support businesses, livestock, farming, and agriculture. However, their projects were severely impacted by the floods, leading to financial losses that made loan repayment impossible. These appealed to authorities for assistance, and their request was granted. In Mahoko Center, some business owners who had managed to restart their activities following the disaster believe that having their debt forgiven presents an opportunity to access new loans under more favorable conditions. BDF announced that the funds will be allocated to SACCOs across the country to provide loans to eligible citizens, including those affected by the Sebeya floods. BDF's Chief Executive Officer, Vincent Mnyeshaka, reassured them that they are not excluded from applying for new loans. Before granting the loan waivers, BDF officials joined Nyundo residents in a community service activity to clean the Nyundo Genocide Memorial. This event took place just days before Rwanda enters the official period of remembering the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. And now, according to the recent data from the FinScope 2024 survey, it shows that 96% of Rwandans have access to financial services, but only 77% are using them effectively. The National Bank of Rwanda, BNR, is urging financial institutions and banks to put more effort in engaging and working with the public so that they can effectively utilize financial services. We do have a report. Financial services are increasingly being brought closer to the citizens, and the number of people accessing these services continues to grow. However, those using them effectively as they should are still below the target set by the government of Rwanda. The Executive Director of the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda, Kwikiriza Jackson, confirms that they have an important task of reaching out to the citizens and teaching them about the benefits of working with financial institutions. We are working on enhancing the capacity of our teams so that they are positioned to attract more people in financial services. Beyond just opening accounts, they should be able to make deposits, withdrawals, and also get some loans. Various entities collaborating with the financial institutions in Rwanda are establishing specific programs aimed at bringing financial services closer to every Rwandan and encouraging them to use these services. The Managing Director of Rwanda Institute of Cooperatives, Entrepreneurship and Microfinance, Mukurira Olivier, explains that they have been providing training to employees of financial institutions, which will help them reach the public, especially small-scale clients. The people we've been training will go to the grassroots, in touch with the locals, so that they encourage them to take advantage of financial services and encourage them to save more. Approximately 6.3 million Rwandans, which accounts for 77%, have accounts in financial institutions, banks, or mobile money. These are individuals who can effectively use financial services daily, as shown in the latest FinScope research. Now, the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Rwanda, in collaboration with the World Economic Forum, will host the Global AI Summit on Africa, happening for the very first time on the continent in Kigali. We earlier had a conversation with the Director General in charge of emerging innovation and emerging technologies at the Ministry of ICT. Definitely, there's no doubt that you're working very hard. One would really want to understand, with all this hard work, of course, these are emerging technologies, there should be challenges that you're already facing. As we speak of now, what are some of the challenges that are still there that you're facing on a day-to-day, as of course we keep, working hard?
Challenge with AI, the first challenge I believe is talent. If our policy and if our ambition is to become the research lab for Africa, we need talent. So that is one of the big challenge. How fast we can have critical mass of experienced professionals in AI is very, very important. But then also looking at how disruptive the technology is for all different sectors. How fast can we get everyone upskilled and reskilled with AI so that the disruption is minimal? And then, of course, how do we utilize this technology to unlock new jobs for our youth? That's one of the biggest challenge that we look at. The second one is that when you look at the global landscape, AI investments, these are very heavy investments that are required. So now it's almost asking ourselves the question of how do we unlock this investment. But even in the smaller investment that we can unlock, how do we make sure that the solutions that we bring out are very beneficial for Rwanda, very beneficial for every citizen at that point. And the third one is how fast the technology is evolving. So regulation, being cautious of ethical and responsible AI is a very critical area that we always have to monitor and understand how the technology is evolving. So those are the three areas that I would say where there are challenges. And I think the first thing, in my opinion, is that as Rwandans, if we can rally around having critical mass of talent and people upskilled and reskilled within AI, every other aspect we might be able to unlock it faster, because then you have the experienced people doing it.
Yeah, maybe just picking on one of the key things that you spoke about of responsible AI. Several reports have suggested Rwanda has one or among the best AI policies. How much of a difference has this policy created from the time of its adoption, in terms of course of solutions, but also what is this policy? If you can give us a bit of an overview, but also focusing so much on how much of a difference it's making.
When when government of Rwanda adopted the policy, we were among the first few countries in Africa to have an AI policy. When it was approved and it was put in place, one of the first interesting part was that at that point the conversation of asking, is anyone going to invest in compute infrastructure on the African continent, is that a feasible element? That was not a conversation that we were having globally. But now today it's something that is we can see major achievement and unlocking. The second part, as Rwanda, we've been able to, with the policy, we've been able to take part in the most advanced global conversation around AI governance. So whether it's at the UN level, whether it's within the Commonwealth, we've developed a toolkit for other small countries within the Commonwealth to be able to develop their own strategy We've worked with Singapore to develop a blueprint for a playbook for small states and nations on how to build AI frameworks and their own AI frameworks and strategies. So these conversations are also the reason why now we were able to work with other countries to start creating a common voice for Africa. And then for Rwanda more specifically, what we've now been trying to see, what we've actually started seeing is identifying where AI can make a difference, whether it's in the health sector, in agriculture, we've seen some use cases in the financial sector, and we continue to explore where we can get the best use cases for Rwanda.
Several opportunities for Rwandan young coders and several good programs, the 1 million coders, the data talent program, and several summits. Now, we are going to host a summit, the Global Artificial Intelligence, Summit and Awards. What does it mean for Rwanda to host such a group? I think it's happening for the very first time in Africa and happening in Kigali. What does that mean to you as a minister, but also to Rwanda? What should that mean to Rwandans?
One, for us to host I believe we all know Rwanda, it's one of our strategy as a MICE country to attract such big events, but also as the initiator, let me call it the initiator of the idea of hosting a global AI summit on Africa. One of the main reasons, as the policy says, we want to be the research lab for Africa on AI. And the first element that we have to think about is what is the position of Africa and what is the opportunity for Africa in terms of AI, and that's a continental conversation that we have to have. The second part, we have to recognize that we have the youngest and most dynamic workforce on the continent. If the technology is going to be deployed globally, we have to be at the forefront of really saying and positioning ourselves and saying this is how we believe the technology should benefit our youth and benefit our youth mostly. And for this summit, what it means for us is that we'll be able to interact and collaborate with multilateral organizations, private sector. We have very big companies and some of the most advanced AI companies in the world who will be in Kigali, and will be able to present what I'll call it what is the opportunity for Rwanda, and have a discussion on how we can harness some of the solutions they have. But then we also have companies that are based in Rwanda that have AI solutions. This is also a very good platform to demonstrate what they've done to a global audience, and to see if those wins can be replicated in other countries. So I would say it's a very, very important milestone, and some of the outcome we believe are going to contribute to, if you've followed AI governance conversations globally, there's been global conversations in London, in South Korea, in Paris early this year. So we believe the outcome of this summit also will contribute to the next global conversation on AI governance.
Esther Kunda, the Director General in charge of Innovation and Emerging Technologies from the Ministry of ICT. Now moving on, Creative Visions Foundation through Green Horizon has organized a peace-themed event in partnership with the Idembe Heritage in Muhanga District. This initiative aligns with the Student Rebuild program, which engages young people aged between 5 to 25 in activities that promote peace, culture expression, and community building.
The Spark Peace project is part of a campaign called Students Rebuild, which is here really for the first time in Rwanda. The aim of it is to engage young people using creativity and creative expression to look at a range of social issues which are important to them. This year's theme is around peace, so getting youth to understand what peace means, how we can all play a part in building peace, but what that means for themselves and also the communities that they live in. We know that it's important to give young people these skills and this opportunity to express themselves from an early age, because it helps them to understand where they live, who they live with, who they work with, and get along better for a more productive and happier society. I think it's also really important for us as well to work in partnership with organisations like Ndembe here in Mahanga, because they understand the local landscape and the culture and what it takes to engage people across different parts of the country. Also, we want to showcase and celebrate the creativity and talent which is out there, to give them an opportunity to make something from it later in life. We know that it needs to be more investment in early talent detection for young people to help them find a career that they're really going to enjoy and excel at. So this project is all about that, building skills of the youth, giving them confidence, helping them understand how to express themselves, but also this year with a special focus on the topic of peace. I think across the projects we try to mix young people with their elders and with other peers, so they can also gain perspective from other people. People who have been there and done it, people who are successful artists, people who are successful creatives. And I think the overall mission is to give young people a variety of opportunities to see what they could do in the future. So they might not be an artist today, but in 10 years' time, they might be a successful writer or a photographer or a poet or any other kind of artist. So this is really about sowing the seeds early, so young people have that opportunity from the very beginning.
ngiye kukubarira rimwe kabiri gatatu itugwamo. So rimwe kabiri gatatu gwamo. One bro.
Kuwa mbere kanda akanyenyeri gatatu kane gatanu akanyenyeri kabiri urwego maze nawe ugwemo.
Ndanezero umunezero nsaba umutima ndakora akazi kanjye ndacatinga data ntizishira enda nawe gwamo
wikwisondeka.
Welcome back from that very short break. Now moving on to the international scene. On a sad note, the death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar has risen to 1,644, with 3,408 others reported injured. At least 139 people remain missing. And the earthquake has also affected neighboring Thailand, where a collapsing skyscraper under construction claimed the lives of at least 9 people. France 24 with more.
Here in Mandalay, Myanmar's second largest city, it's a race against time. As overwhelmed rescue workers push to clear the wreckage and free hundreds of people buried under buildings turned to rubble. One of the worst hit buildings in the city is this condominium development, where dozens of people are feared to be trapped. After hours of painstaking efforts to free her limbs, this woman was rescued alive, to her husband's relief.
I am so worried and heavy-minded. In the beginning, I didn't think she would be alive because it seemed there was very little chance for it. I'm very happy that I heard the good news. She's so weak that the rescuers asked me not to talk to her at the moment.
Also its cultural capital, the 7.7 magnitude quake toppled monasteries, temples and schools in Mandalay. And in the capital city, crews work to aid residents who've lost everything, with makeshift medical stations set up for the wounded. Having previously shunned foreign assistance, aid and rescue teams from both neighbouring India and China have arrived after a rare plea from the junta-led government. Across the border in the Thai capital, buildings reported damage across the city, with most casualties from one 30-storey toppled skyscraper, where loved ones agonisingly wait amidst the mass of metal and concrete.
Yesterday I heard the building collapsed. I worried about my sister, but there was no signal to call her. Her colleague said she can't find my mum or my sister who were with her on the 5th floor. I have about 50% hope.
Thailand's Prime Minister says the country has returned to normalcy after the quake rocked the capital, and that a probe is underway to investigate the building's collapse.
Sad indeed. Now moving on to the U.S. In the U.S., the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has cancelled more than 300 visas in a crackdown on pro-Palestine protesters who took part in the university demonstrations, and he says that he will keep doing so. Secretary Rubio also has defended the detention of a PhD student whose visa was revoked. The arrest has sparked protest in the state of Massachusetts. DW with the details.
At a rally in Massachusetts, crowds were angry over this. Rümeysa Öztürk, a PhD student from Turkey studying at Tufts University, taken away by mass immigration agents. The Department of Homeland Security accuses her of taking part in activities supporting Hamas, but has not provided evidence, and she hasn't been charged with any crime. Activists say such arrests set a dangerous precedent, and that if there are reasonable grounds for suspicion, Öztürk should be tried in court.
I saw a posting of her being abducted by plainclothes people and was outraged. I wasn't familiar with her. I heard she hates Israel. Personally, I love Israel. I want peace. I don't want bombing. I don't want wars. But that's all beside the point. I'm here, maybe not majority, but I'm here because this woman's been abducted by our government.
It's really just one step away from fascism. Actually, it's not even a step away. It is full-blown fascist intimidation.
The Trump administration has been targeting non-U.S. citizens involved in pro-Palestinian protests on university campuses. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says over 300 visas have been canceled.
I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way.
And Rubio has gone further, defending Öztürk's controversial arrest.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, our agents, that's a DHS or ICE, so I don't know what their practices are, but our agents have had to protect their identity because they found themselves targeted for violence, targeted for operations against them.
Öztürk's lawyer put out a statement saying, quote, based on patterns we are seeing across the country, her exercising her free speech rights appears to have played a role in her detention. According to U.S. immigration officials, Öztürk is being held at a detention center in Louisiana.
Now, that report brings us to the end of this edition, but before we go, let's have a look at the headlines. Dr. Kalinda Francois Xavier has urged the residents of Rwanda district to strengthen national unity and reject genocidal ideology. An author and journalist, Maria Maragadis, says the Belgium abandoned Rwanda during the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, even though they could have intervened to save the Tutsis who were being killed. And on the international scene, the death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar has risen to 1,644, with 3,408 others reported injured. Of course, it's always a pleasure having you join us for RTV News. Until next time, I am William Evans, wishing you a good night. Bye.